You know, I think I just received an anointing with that song. I've heard it a number of times, but I don't think I ever heard it with my heart. How are you doing? As I always ask, how are you breathing? Besides in and out. You know, the gentleman who played the didgeridoo was extraordinary. How did he do that? He never took a breath. It's a classic example of seamless breathing, you know. Where does one begin and one end with the breath? That's staying connected. That's how I feel this morning. I feel connected. I'm so honored that my sister, Reverend Temple, would invite me to come today, and that you're using my book, The Art of Abundance, for your launch into the next 7-week program. People ask me how I came to write this book. And I will share a very short story with you because it's literally the truth. Shortly after I had written Your Redefining Moments, Becoming Who You Were Born to Be, which was like 4+ years ago, my publisher called me within a month after it was published. He says, okay, what's next? I said, I need to take a breath. And I said, I have no idea. He says, hey, you're a very prosperous guy. Why don't you write a book about prosperity? And I says, no. He was right. I have, all my adult life, been amazingly fortunate with my demonstration of prosperity in my life. Long before I ever got into New Thought, I was demonstrating prosperity at a high level. I had the house on the hill and the sports car, and I was living the dream, you know. And then I discovered New Thought in 1977. And I realized how empty I was. That was the day I discovered the principle of oneness. And I realized that prosperity is a surface demonstration where oneness brings us into abundance. And so this book is not, you know, I didn't write, I figure we got enough prosperity books out there. Can I get a witness for that? Okay. And we don't, God knows we don't need another self-help guru to teach you how to demonstrate, you know, win the lottery in 21 days or demonstrate the perfect parking space or the perfect and right and perfect mate, right? We don't need that kind of manifestation. We already know how to do that. That's entry-level 101 metaphysics, right? But the principle of abundance, I wanted to write a book that helped me articulate what I knew before I found New Thought, and then how that translated to a life of abundance. Okay, abundance, the principle of abundance means more than enough of anything you can conceive of. What can you conceive of that would make your life more full? A richer, deeper experience, a more joyful experience, a life worth living. Can you conceive of that? Okay. See, the principle of abundance that the book is about, it encompasses far more than the money that's in your wallet or the kind of car you drive. And boy, I got this in spades because I went through that. It encompasses far more than the house you live in, the size of it, and where it's located. Okay. All those things, aka stuff, can add value to your experience on the planet, but it not necessarily does it add meaning. So this book is about taking us to a deeper understanding of what the difference between prosperity is which is really about surface living, about manifestation of stuff, and demonstrating a prosperous life. Do you get the difference? A prosperous life is something that encompasses every aspect of your life, the more intangible things, because we're accessing an energy that is formless until we channel it and create form through our consciousness. Okay? So, I guess probably the primary way I would define the difference between prosperity and living a prosperous life. Prosperity does great things for building and increasing your net worth. Living a prosperous life is what helps you deepen your self-worth. And when you're living from that place of self, and I mean capital S, meaning spirit, divine intention, God, life, the universe is all theirs. When we're living in our awareness of our oneness, which is the secret to life, to live in the awareness of our oneness with the universe, God, however you want to define it, capital I-T, the self contained within the self is the essence of everything you can consciously or intentionally conceive of as that which would make your life worth living. Not just existing, but living. Do you get the difference? The problem is that for millennia, people have looked to the world for their fulfillment. In other words, they've looked to effect. They've looked outside of themselves for their fulfillment. And when we do that, and our collective consciousness of humankind is kind of stuck in a hole in the soul. There's a hole in the soul of collective humanity because we're looking outside of ourselves for that which can only be discovered and manifest from within. My friend, you all know who Michael Beckwith is, right? He's a good buddy of mine. He wrote an actually endorsement for the book, but I also quoted him in here. I want to share with you what he said. He talks about that what's going on in the collective consciousness is like a virus. Michael says there's a lie that acts like a virus within the mind of humanity, and that lie is that there is not enough good to go around. There's lack and there's limitation and there's just not enough. The truth is that there's more than enough good to go around. There's more than enough creative ideas. There's more than enough power. There's more than enough love. There's more than enough joy. All of this begins to come through a mind that is aware of its own infinite nature, the self. There is enough for everyone if you believe it, if you can see it, if you can act from it, it'll show up for you. That is the truth. Yeah, wow. So, it's a 30-second visualization. Close your eyes if you're comfortable in doing that. And ask yourself this question: what would my life look like today? And go to your heart and really be honest with yourself about this. What would my life look like today if on the day I was born, I was taught by example that there were no shortages of anything? There was no shortages of anything that would make life worth living. What would my life look like today if I was taught that I was born into, like a fish, a sea of abundance where whatever was needed to sustain me was available? How would it look differently than perhaps it looks today? Now sit with that question just for a minute. Okay, you can open your eyes, take a breath, and here's the question I have for you. When I asked that question, did it ascend pessimistically to some place, predestinated place in your mind where you went, yeah, right, as if that's possible? You know, you look at the world of those who have and those that don't, and maybe you consider yourself to be one of those who don't. Or did the question descend gently into your soul, into your heart, and the core of your being, where there was an affirmation of, Yes. This is the truth about who I am. I am one with the life force that created not just me, but all that is. And you know, I guess where that question ascended to or dropped into in you, your consciousness was in both of those places, hearing that, witnessing it, and saying, yep, you're right. Consciousness, ABC, awareness builds consciousness. What is consciousness? Well, in short, your consciousness is the sum total of everything you've ever believed to be the truth from the day you were born until this moment in time. The good news is that what you created, you can uncreate. And you're in the right place to do that. This spiritual community is about ascending consciousness. And that's why it's very important that you, and I'm not trying to sell you my book, but it's very important that you guys get involved in this 7-week process with Reverend Temple, because this book contains information that's not mine. This came from a far place beyond me that will give you the tools you need to ascend to a consciousness of abundance. Take a deep breath. So here's the question. If consciousness is really consciousness is what manifests our experience, ABC, awareness builds consciousness, what does more than enough look like to you today? What does more than enough look like for you today? Does it have boundaries around it? Are you operating from a closed system of beliefs that says this is as far as you can go and this is it with my life? And again, let's lift it way above material manifestation. How many other ways can we manifest the principle of abundance? This is Q&A time. Give me some answers. How you can be abundant in your life beyond the material world. Good health, love, service, friends, relationships. Joy, yeah, joy. It can go. How about this? Reverence. Could you imagine a world where there was an abundance of reverence being expressed? Shake your head like this. Yes, you can. So, you know, the answer to the question I ask can be different for each and every one of us. And this is what's really important that you get. While the answer can be different for some of us and others, this principle that transforms essence, energy, into form, experience, is the very same principle. Doesn't matter what the question is, the principle is always the same. Always the same. One God, one mind, one power operating in me and through me demonstrates my life according to my belief in it, with it, as it. So, see, I guess my point is this, is that only those with the consciousness, the courage, and the faith to scale the invisible walls of the collective belief in not enough will actualize and demonstrate authentic abundance. Are you willing to climb and scale that invisible wall of belief? Because the world really holds it in place, right? What we have to do is understand the difference between abundance and prosperity. Because one is the cause, first cause, and the other is the exquisite effect. Okay? And you have to have both in order to exist. But we sometimes put them in the wrong order where we focus. Too many of us are focusing on demonstrating prosperity, and we forget and ignore the principle of abundance, which is the undergirding essence and principle of life itself, which contains there's no limits. There's no walls around the universe, is there? The universe is expanding at the speed of light, yeah? Think of that. The speed of light. And how's it doing that? It's manifesting more of itself from within itself to push out. So I'm going to quote myself. I love doing that once in a while. Abundance, this is a great quote. Ralph Waldo Emerson says, we see the universe as solid fact. God sees it as liquid law. Isn't that beautiful? So in brief, I'm going to read this because otherwise I'd be spilling on for hours about it. Abundance is defined as an extremely plentiful or oversufficient quantity or supply in overflowing fullness. Note that this definition does not specify form, only a degree that implies more than enough. This is because abundance is a principle that goes beyond form. It is a universal principle of more than enough of whatever one can conceive of. Abundance is absolute potential, here it is, available to whoever can actualize it by transforming pure potential into solid reality. That's taking the potential of an infinite idea that there's more than enough because that's the nature of the universe, and transmuting that into form. Did you know you're an energy conductor, right? That you take energy in pure form and create a life out of it. Prosperity is a successful flourishing or thriving condition. In other words, prosperity is a condition, not a principle. It is the effect or manifestation of abundance materializing in a specific form or condition and degree. Simply put, abundance is the causative principle of more than enough, and prosperity is the exquisite effect. The question is, which one do you tend to focus more fully on, the cause or the effect? And see, here's the catch-22. When we focus on accumulation of prosperity as the end goal, what are we announcing to the universe when we're chasing after something? We don't have it, right? The universe is listening. It has big ears and it only knows one word. You know what it is? Yep. If you believe you don't have enough, I'm going to help you create more, not enough. You get that? So we have to ascend from the pursuit of this idea of materiality and prosperity to an idea of abundance consciousness, which can only be realized when we realize that we are one with the source of all good. You get that? Okay. Living in an abundance is an all-inclusive term for meaning more than enough of whatever you can conceive of. And here's the hook. And write this on the inside of your eyelids because it's really important. You don't have to earn abundance. You have to accept it. It came with the gift of life. It came with the gift you were given. You cannot be separated from it. But you have to wake up and see it to actualize it. How are you breathing? See, we all tend to overcomplicate the process. I'm going to give you a little physics lesson here, and a lot of you probably know this better than me. We tend to overcomplicate the process of shaping a life of abundance. How many of you are familiar with Einstein's theorem, E equals mc squared? What does that mean? It means everything at the beginning was energy, right? And energy has to solidify through vibration and become matter, and at some point it breaks down and goes back into energy. In other words, we're not really creating something from nothing, we're only giving an outward form to an inner idea and a belief. The universe, that's the way the universe works. Energy equals mass. It has to move through you to create something. As your thoughts, your beliefs, the food you put in your mouth, we go into the book, we go into all the ways that you can see how abundance operates in your life, and you're not even seeing it. We're so blind to so many of the ways that it operates. So we're not creating something from nothing. We're giving form to something. And as an example, close your eyes again if you're very comfortable with just a short guided visualization. Imagine that you're standing next to a big well, and this well is infinitely deep. It goes down, 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 way beyond anything you can imagine. And contained within the well is more than enough of whatever you can conceive of. Now, lower your bucket into that well, down, 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 down. Fill it up, and slowly bring the bucket back up. Now here's the question for you. You can open your eyes. How big is your bucket? What's it, a quart bucket? A gallon bucket? How many of you had the bucket the size of the swimming pool? Yeah. Consciousness is what defines the size of the bucket. The universe must pour itself into consciousness to create experience. Are you with me on that? If consciousness, so and here, okay, so can I get a witness for that? You all say yes? Here's the other part of that. Okay, if consciousness prevails, okay, this is so good. If consciousness is the key, maybe it's time for some of us to do some self-inquiry and ask ourselves in total truth, where's my belief system anchored? Is it in not enough or more than enough? And it's okay if it's anchored now in not enough, because we're in the process of growing and learning. That's what this series that Temple's going to be sharing with you is all about. It's about expanding consciousness. So if we have a belief system in not enough, how can the universe create anything for us but more not enough? The size of the bucket. So to move from a consciousness of not enough to more than enough requires us to move from the world of materiality into the world of the absolute. Abundance. The principle of abundance. Now, you know, too many believe, see where this goes in your mind. A lot of people believe that abundance, true, authentic, a life of true abundance is out of reach for them. Not one of us. Good. Good. And the truth is, it's right before your eyes. It's right here in this room. You couldn't be any closer to it than you are your next breath. But you have to actualize it. And you know what? This is where the rubber meets the road too. We can't leave it to others to do it for us. Nobody can form your consciousness for you. Temple can give you great ideas and truths, but you have to ingest it and be able to assimilate that truth and turn it into beliefs. You can't leave it to others to set us free from the bondage of not enough. How many of us look to the world? You know, how many of us are waiting for our politicians to set us free to more than enough? Especially when they're in business to cause, at this point, it looks like cause separation and division from not only God and life, but each other. You can't leave it to big business either, because big business is in business to prove to you that there's something missing in your life, and you need it in order to be complete. Look at any TV commercial, and you'll see that's the truth. The TV exists to convince you that you're something's missing in your life. If you're in the TV business, I apologize for that. But world religions won't do it either. Why? Because the truth is, all those things I mentioned, they're power brokers. They deal in power. And for them, and I know that sounds like division and separation, but it's all about power. It's about those who have the power and those who believe they don't have it. And so our job is to awaken to the fact that there's nothing keeping you from having the power to shape and create an abundant life. So, here's the question. I'm going to close pretty quick with this. Can you imagine a world and how the world's power would shift if people would take time to call their power back? To stop allowing others to define us. Whether it's politicians, or whether it's big business, or whether it's religions. Stop allowing others to define us and tell us who we are. And the way we do that is very simple. You have to dive into first cause. God is all there is. That's where it begins and ends. Oneness with your source. That's why I wrote this book. You know, when I asked one of my friends to endorse it, a fellow by the name of John Lee, who is the founder and a multi-millionaire, I asked him to endorse the book because he's also a religious scientist. And I asked him to endorse it. He was the former CEO of Learning Curve International, major world-famous toy manufacturer. And what he wrote in his endorsement was, I always had a prosperous life, but I didn't realize what was missing, and that is the abundance of a life worth living. And so I guess, you know, the 10 rules that I know you're going to learn over the next 7 weeks, I'm going to just tell you what they are, and then you're going to dive into them. This book is really about giving you a roadmap of how to navigate, and you'll notice each of the 10 rules starts with simple principles, then actualize the next. So you can't jump around on the book. You really need to start at the beginning and go from the beginning to the end. But I'll read the 10 rules to you and see where they settle in your heart. Be one with life. Be aware that you live in an expanding universe. Be accountable for your consciousness. Be focused. Be in the flow. Be passionate. Be blessed. Be of service. Be courageous. Be a catalyst for good. Can you see how it spirals upward to that place where you realize you're actualizing your oneness with God by being it in action? I close with a quote by Peter Diamandis that says it all. Because you're sitting in infinite potential right now. Can I get a witness? When I think about creating abundance, it's not about creating a life of luxury for everybody on the planet. It's about creating a life of possibilities. It's about taking that which was scarce and making it abundant. And so my question is, where in your life does scarcity appear? And are you willing to allow abundance to fill that space? Because the universe is waiting for you to say yes. That's the art of abundance. I hope that you all will get the book, read it with Temple. And by the way, I brought my gold pin. I'll be out in the lobby. I'd love to inscribe it personally for you. Think about the holidays coming up. You can take one home to your friends and family. It's a great book that teaches principles way beyond materiality. Know that you're loved and appreciated, and I'm so glad to be here with you today. Peace.